The day started with watching a video about the very unforgiving nature of being an influencer. This was from a YouTube channel that I am struggling to remember the name about right now, but the host of the channel was a main actor for a show called Dicky and Dawn or something like that. He definitely has that Nickelodeon star energy about him for sure. He was basically talking about how influencer culture is much like celebrity culture, where people, when they hit it big, they basically treat it as if they won the lottery and have zero financial discipline with how they handle their money. They think that looking rich is the equivalent of being rich. And this ultimately ends up with them losing all of their money because they spend it on things that were too expensive for them to own. And then when they run out of the money, they basically beg for money on donations for donations on TikTok, through donations on TikTok. And it basically told me that a lot of the people who somehow managed to hit it big, not all of them, I'm sure there's some financially responsible people who do hit it big, but a lot of ones that do hit it big, they clearly were not taught how to make money from their money. A lot of them just were like, probably shocked about how much money they were making. They didn't have any self-control, no shut-off valve. It's like someone who's on a diet who is trying to avoid sweets, but then they're put in a room with nothing but sweets. And because they love those sweets so much, they can't control themselves and they just eat all the sweets. And then they end up getting a tummy ache and start having a difficult time breathing, and they just get very lethargic. And that's something that I guess could be equivalent to this. Like, you have to manage your cash responsibly, whether you're, working like I am, janitor at a grocery store, making enough to literally fill every financial need he needs currently, or someone who manages to hit it extremely big, and then they now have more cash than any single person will see in their entire lifetime. If I hit it big, I would invest that cash into dividend paying funds, and then I would leave the money I would make and then just skim off the dividends that I'm making. And then, of course, I would live well below my means. Like, I wouldn't buy a fancy hot sports car or any of that. In fact, I'm not even a car guy at all. At best, I would get a really humble vehicle that has good mileage, and I would basically just make food that I enjoy on my own. And the thing is, if I were to have that kind of money coming in through something like dividends by investing that amount that I would find myself with, I would basically have unlimited free time. And so I would use that unlimited free time to develop myself as an artist, as a storyteller, and really try to learn and grow in that field and discipline. So that's what I would do if I hit it big. But I guess some people are, they probably are just shocked by that amount of money and think they're too big to fail. And in the video, the star of Ricky Dicky Dawn shows a video of a guy called Dave Ramsey, who's a financial advisor. And he basically talks about how a lot of his clients are former sports athletes that are struggling with debt. And the problem is that they look rich, but they really are not rich. So, yeah. I mean, I learned this a long time ago from listening to an audiobook called The Next Door Millionaire. And at the end of the day, if you want to preserve your wealth and live comfortably without like losing all your money, then just spend apps as little as you can, get exactly what you need. You can get one or two things you want, maybe, but make sure that you don't just constantly buy out like food or expensive cars or mansions or any of that. Like, stay humble and use that and keep that money growing so you can continue to live a comfortable life within your that will allow you to continue pursuing. So yeah, that's my analysis on the video, basically. All right, well, after I was done watching that, I went out of my room and I greeted my sister. And I remember I was, oh, right. As I was watching the video, I had some of these this candy called sour strips, and I got that while I was watching the video, and I ate that. And these were blue raspberry, which just so happens to be like my favorite sour candy flavor, and I did enjoy it. But yeah, definitely not something I should get all the time. Only like once in a while, even if that, just when I want something just fun to eat. But of course, it's not something that's recommended. It's really bad for you, actually. But I got it yesterday because I was like, I want to see what this tastes like, and it tastes exactly like what I expected it to. But yeah. All right. Well, after I was done watching, went out, greeted my sister, and oh man, what happened after that? I remember, right, we like hung out and talked, from what I can recall. And then I decided that I wanted to go for a half-hour walk. Reason being, today I wanted to go to a restaurant and pick up a meal from that was French toast with butter, eggs, sausage, hash browns. But I was still kind of full from the raspberry sour strip of all things, and I only had 2 of those, which was very weird. So I thought, well, if I go for like a half-hour walk, maybe I'll work the food off, and then when I come home, I'll be ready to eat it. So that's what I did. I said goodbye to my sister. I went on my walk. I was listening to this live stream called Midweek Madness from a YouTube channel called The Sneezing Monkey. Basically, this is a German man who is very, like, cynical and, like, eye-rolling about the whole UFO, phenomenon. He basically believes that there's never been any legitimate sightings, any legitimate evidence. He believes it's all just made-up lore to trick, unsuspecting, gullible people into being grifted out of their money, and basically for people who enjoy researching this kind of stuff to be giving their money to these false prophets, and in his eyes, of people who are just using their credentials and the little bit of evidence that they seemingly have put forth and make themselves seem like they're all that when really they're just a bunch of grifters and tricksters, is in his opinion. And he was basically talking about Tim Burchett, but he was basically making snarky remarks about how his right eye is slightly higher than his left eye, and how that is something that he's very really honed in on. He was like, "Oh, this guy, he's got the really high eyeball. That's just how his skull is. I'm not trying to be mean here. I'm just saying that's really weird." So that was kind of funny, but at the same time, it did feel a little bit mean, But now, what can you say? And there were some people who were in these skiffs that were being interviewed on like podcasts. I forget the name of the guy who was being interviewed. It wasn't Tim Burchett, it was another guy from Congress who was shown these UAP video and was describing, yeah, these things are making like these strange maneuvers that would turn anyone into like a ketchup packet if they were to move the same way. And like, I'm seeing this and I'm like, oh my goodness, how is this even possible? And basically he thought, oh yeah, these guys, they were showing these crazy videos, but because they want to seem like they have clout and because they want to feel important, they hype up these videos that are probably not even legit. They probably show something that could easily be explained, but because they show something that's described as anomalous and are shown like with that expectation in mind, they immediately think it's amazing. But really, it's probably nothing. It's probably a lot like those videos are recently released by the Pentagon. Recently, that was like that star-shaped UFO. That was just a flare, bro. That was just a flare. Okay, everybody's always trying to make a big deal about this, but really, it's nothing, bro. It's nothing. So yeah, I thought that was I like his snarkiness. I think he's very funny. It's clear that he's taking pot shots on this whole thing, and I think it's equally important to remain open-minded about the phenomenon as it is to hear out hardcore skeptics. You want to hear both sides of the aisle to have a well-rounded view. Because if you decide to stick to one group of what they say, you're not really doing real research. You're basically subscribing to a belief. And having a belief can make you feel special, but at the end of the day, what really matters is gathering data from every single different source you possibly can, compare, contrast, challenge, test, do the scientific method, and then prove. And if what you come up with it seems legitimate, then share it. And also be willing to be wrong. Don't just say something. Say, okay, guys, this is truth. There's nothing about this that's incorrect at all. Trust me, I know what I'm doing. Because then you're opening yourself up for. Sorry, I'm just plugging the phone in. Okay, great. Because then you're opening yourself up for, this weird, I want to be right all the time complex, or is that a good way to put it? You won't have to be open to being wrong because that's what science is all about. It's about having a pre-established belief based on many theories presented and then testing everything until you rule out every possibility and finally find the one that makes the most sense. So, yeah. Anywho, I think that's about all I've got to say about that. Yeah, after my walk, I arrived back home. My mom had arrived. I greeted her. I was told that a neighbor of ours who was shown the project my mom was working on walked in uninvited in the backyard and took it upon themselves to put concrete in the planters, which is what we were gonna do. But the fact that this person took it upon themselves to do it themselves without asking if it's okay, confirming, and just assuming just because my mom showed where everything is that, oh yeah, they probably want me to do it, is just not okay. Now, apparently my family friend did give this person a stern talking to, But the fact that this like even happened at all in the first place, I found out about this because my mom and my sister told me when my mom arrived, and it happened yesterday, by the way, was shocking. It's like, my goodness, there's being helpful, and then there's just being presumptuous and what's a good way to put it? Assuming, I guess, or assuming, presumptuous, those both mean the same thing. And going on someone else's turf without getting explicit permission is just not okay. Now, I thought, hey, should we do something legal about this? And I was told, no, we don't want to press anything legal. Our family friend contacted and gave them a stir talking to. Then I was curious. I was like, well, I want to do a little bit of research. And apparently if they cause some kind of damage, like leaving like scuffs or marks everywhere, then they're liable to pay for damages. But then, my mom said, no, we're not going to go that far. We already told them, and, they clearly had good intentions, but maybe there was a communication barrier, because his native language is Spanish, and he probably didn't understand that we weren't okay with that. So we didn't go any further with that. So yeah, but I don't know. If it was my house, I honestly would be really tipped off. But it's not my house, so yeah. All right, well, moving along. After that crazy story was told, I told my mom that I would be going into the shower, because I had showered in a while. So I went in, did my thing, shaved, put on deodorant, and then I combed my hair, put on some hairspray, and then I got dressed for the day. Felt pretty good about it. It was nice. I always enjoy the feeling of getting out of the shower. I feel super refreshed doing something like that. So when I was out, I told my sister that I could drive her if she wanted, because she told me that she worked sending application to a job. So I was like, I'll help you out. I'll drive you so you could drop it off and say hello to the manager. And they were like, thank you. And I let her know, oh, by the way, I want to stop by to get something from a restaurant. And she was like, okay, that's fine. So we drove off. She dropped off the application. Then we drove off to the restaurant. I ordered a French toast meal with scrambled eggs, bacon, sausage, and hash browns, and 3 separate containers of whipped butter. The lady who served us was very nice, with a very beautiful smile. It's always nice to be served by someone who seems to clearly enjoy their work, and it just makes your day feel a bit brighter. So that was good. Then we drove off. I remember when we were waiting for the meal, me and my sister were coming up with the silly names for restaurants, I'm forgetting exactly, Jack in the Box, more like Jack in the Rocks or something like that. Or Carl's Jr., more like Carl's Boomer or something, and then the star has a beard on it. So we thought that was pretty funny. And yeah, we just came up with a bunch of silly names. It was funny. We drove back home. I asked my sister if she'd be cool watching a Lately video talking about the recent, this 2003 UAP sighting at in Space Force Base. I'm forgetting the exact location, but it was called Air Force, but then they changed to Space Force, which is interesting. And then I put my meal together. My sister made a coffee shake, and we enjoyed that, and it was really good. Really did like that a lot. I had some coffee, hot coffee, along with the coffee shake, and the meal, which consisted of, yeah, the whole platter. Like I put everything together on one plate. Hash browns, eggs, sausage, bacon, the French toast, and 2 containers of whipped butter. I actually got 3, but I didn't end up using I did not end up using the third one. It was really good, by the way. I really did enjoy it a lot. And then I even told my sister, yeah, one of the reasons why I enjoy like the food at this particular restaurant was that they have whipped butter, and there are increasingly fewer and fewer restaurants that offer that as an option, including places like IHOP, which is like, oh, they're a chain. Wouldn't they have whipped butter? But I guess they don't. It's crazy. But anywho, we watched this video by Lately, and it basically was a bunch of different military personnel at this particular base. I'm forgetting the name of the base right now. It's on a YouTube channel. Just type in Lately UFO on YouTube search bar, and the icon for the YouTube channel should be like an open like eye, like that kind of has a green coloring around it, illustration. Really in-depth and insightful YouTube channel on the UFO and alien phenomenon. So yeah, we watched this, and basically, if I were to describe it really plainly, a football-sized rectangular craft shows up above an airbase. People look up and they're like, what the heck is that thing? And when they look under it, there's like multiple layers of what seems to be stacks of rectangles underneath the rectangle. And it just hovers there and then immediately shoots off in the distance unexplainably. So yeah, that was a really interesting video for sure. And then after that, I remember and then he did cover this old man from who was at the same base in the 60s, who witnessed a UAP disarm a dummy nuclear warhead using like lasers while circling around it as it was going through the air, which crazy. I already told like my mom and sister about the story, but having a video made by Lately, a really good explainer of the phenomenon, make a video about it and then visualize it in a way that was very easy to parse was kind of a godsend. It definitely was great to see a video that helped make that particular story more easier to digest and comprehend, because of he does a good job editing and breaking it down for sure. Really good content creator. I enjoy Lately a lot. Yeah. So after I was done watching that video, me and my sister were done watching it. I got up. My mom had arrived, greeted her. She said that someone was coming over, a guest, so we needed to get the house ready. So I ended up vacuuming the floor. And the person arrived, but they said that, oh, I got a bad back, I'll see you later. So they left, and so that was that. Before they arrived, after I vacuumed, me and my mom were watching this, the 15-minute video about the Beatles' Strawberry Fields Forever movie that was never made. We watched the first 3 or 4 minutes before the person arrived, and then they had a long conversation as they were doing that. I was like, I really want some cookies right now. So I started making some cookies. I went above and beyond this time. I ground the butter. I freezed it for an hour. I put in grinded up tablespoon of coffee grains into the flour to give it an extra flavor kick. And I split the recipe in half and I pre-measured all the ingredients. And I mixed everything together. I toasted the walnuts. I don't normally do that. In fact, I think this might be the first time I've done that today, but I did. I formed the doughs into balls. I put them away in the fridge while preheating the oven to 375 degrees. Got a baking sheet with some parchment paper, had that ready to go. I tried out the cookie batter, and I was like, whoa, toasting those half a cup of walnuts, because I have the recipe, was really amped up the flavor profile. And for some reason, to me, it tasted like a pretzel cookie. And it was perfectly balanced. It wasn't too sweet, and it wasn't too salty. It was just right. So it was really, really good. As I was doing this, my mom and family friend were watching a show about the women of the Bible. And, Oh, that reminds me. Before I showed my mom the Strawberry Fields movie, and right after I was done vacuuming, in between that time, I was listening to this story about this guy who went by the name Prophet Yahweh, who was interviewed by like ABC in the early 2000s, saying that he could summon UAP by just looking up the sky and saying comes prove that I'm not a crazy person and I'm not mentally ill, and then a UAP appeared, like a white orb. It was something. I told my sister about it. She was like, oh yeah, I remember that guy. And then she saw him and she thought it was funny. I showed my mom and she thought he was, took drugs or was crazy and whatnot. And I said, apparently, I was doing some research on Google and I found out that he got the idea of summoning these UIP by looking at the original Hebrew texts from Exodus and then finding a way to say God's name in specific way that apparently, in his words, just sent out verbal vibrations out into the sky that attracted these UAP phenomenon. So yeah, that was pretty interesting doing that research rabbit hole for sure. Excuse me. Anywho, yeah, after my mom, family friend were done watching that movie, I finished baking the cookies. My mom was on a semi-fast, but she did break it a bit with some zucchini soup, which she gave me some, and I tried it, and I thought it was really good. I was watching a video about Dan Dingle making dumb AI songs by consenting to allowing his voice to be used by the AI to make him sing these songs. So that was interesting. And he was basically trying to make the worst songs he possibly could by doing terrible impressions of Gordon Ramsay. It was very silly. But yeah, I ate with my mom with the soup, and then our family friend went to bed. She tried the cookies. She said it was really good. She gave it 10 out of 10. My mom said she'll have cookie in the morning. And I had cooked myself. I do agree it was really good. Very well balanced. Perfectly chewy. Good flavor profile for sure. Very nutty. Very chocolatey. Very much an amber-like taste. Thumbs up. Then we finished the Strawberry Fields demo. We watched that together. Overall, my mom's thoughts were, well, they were probably on drugs when they made that. I thought it does look like they were, especially the Hey Jude part of the video, where there's animals morphing into other animals. I was like, whoa, where do they get these ideas? I remember I was listening to the Beatles' Yellow Submarine, which, by the way, the Strawberry Fields was being directed by the guy who helped write the Beatles' Yellow Submarine movie. And in this in the commentary track he did for that movie, he said, "Yeah, people they thought that I was taking drugs or our team was taking drugs, but no, the worst it got was a cup of coffee." And then we're seeing all these weird designs. I'm like, dang, that's interesting. I don't know. Are you sure about that? But I don't know. It's pretty funny. Anywho, yeah. So my mom was surprised that apparently the animation was going to have a lot of star power. It was going to have Cyndi Lauper singing the song Across the Universe. It was going to have Michael Jackson doing a cover of Come Together Over Me. It had a cover of the song Magical Mystery Tour that it was said it was done by Cheap Trick, but when I listened to in the description, when I listened to the song in the demo, it sounded like the original Beatles singing it, not Cheap Trick, so I'm not exactly sure why the conflicting sound versus the information being given is very odd. There was a original cover of the song Blackbird Singing in the Dead of Night. Really good song. One of my favorites, by the way. Yeah, pretty good video. Then my mom went to sleep. I used the restroom. When I got out, I greeted my sister. Then I was watching this Smurfy Hollow cartoon on my phone. Just a little bit of it. I was like, well, it was pretty cool. They did some 2D animation here, even though it's Smurfs, and I'm not a huge Smurfs guy, but yeah, and I looked up when it was released. It was like a DVD special feature in 2013, and the reason they did the 2D animation style instead of going with the 3D style was because they wanted to, pay tribute to the original Smurfs 2D designs, but with a higher budgeted, nicer looking 2D animation. So I thought, oh, that's kind of cool. I mean, if they're not going to do bigger budget 2D animation for a full-length, feature-length Smurfs movie, the least they can do is high-quality 2D animation for like a special feature on a DVD back in 2013. That's the best you can get, then I'll take what I can get. I enjoy 2D animation. I like it because, in an age of artificial intelligence, which I gotta be honest, I have used it quite a lot. I even made a video about how addicted I was to doing Sea Dance 2 and, helping my mom with that ant video. I'm starting to get a bigger itch for doing, my own art. Because, I am fully aware that AI is the biggest plagiarist on the planet Earth, and that a lot of the stuff you generate with it is stuff that was generated because of the AI being trained off of artwork. And, courts argue, well, technically it's fair use. Technically this isn't, something that is, stealing, it's transforming the original content into other content. So, in a way, that's right. But, it just feels like, I don't know, it's the kind of deal where you want to get better at your craft. You find what you think is the easy button to get better, the fast path, and so you do it, and you're like, oh, this is great, oh my gosh, I can finally get my ideas out at a record pace. But I think this is something that I actually was, delving deep into with this video randomly recommended to me after that Smurfs video where, actually, I watched the video as I was making the cookies or listening to it. It was a guy talking about how consuming is, very poor because, if you're only consuming and you're not creating, but not in a way where you're, forcefully creating, but creating a way where you're showing love and attention to whatever you're doing. You have to actively engage if you want to get the full breadth of experience versus just having a facsimile of the experience of what you're, being given, right? And the problem is, I think the way the media is geared towards us now is that it wants to get to the exciting parts as soon as possible. It's like, people don't have time. People don't have patience. People need to get the exciting thing now because the audience is the most important thing. We can't lose our reviewer retention, so we gotta play the game and make things as high viewer engagement as possible, highly stimulating as possible. We can't allow for people to actually take take a break and reflect and think about what they're absorbing into their minds. They just gotta move on to the next thing, move on to the next thing, move on to the next thing. And I think that's a thing that like people are slowly like maybe coming to about. They're realizing that this constant consumption of content can't possibly be good for our brains, because I don't think in the many years our human brains have existed have we been in an environment like this before. And I think we were designed in a way where we could look at like one thing and take in the full experience as a whole at a time and enjoy that experience from start to finish with a little bitty setbacks in between. And the problem is, I feel like the way our technology is designed, it makes us think that the journey is an inconvenience instead of the whole point of living. And it just says, get to the exciting part now, get to the exciting part now. And that's a big problem, because, if you get to the exciting part, you forget you didn't really earn it. You have to earn something to make that exciting part feel substantial and meaningful and like it actually is worth something. And that's what that video I was listening to was about. And it really did make me think about like my online habits. I just overconsume. I don't really create a whole lot. And that got me thinking, maybe I should create something at least for 1 hour, because I always like to just preoccupy myself and distract myself and not get fully involved. And so I'm going to change that. So I decided to set a timer for 1 hour from like 11:29 all the way to 12:29 to work on this little animatic of the song I'd Walk 1,000 Miles by the Proclaimers. And I wanted to make it the storyboard about like two lumberjacks who are best friends who like work at cutting logs, and then they go on this like unexpected comedy of errors adventure. That was my original like idea I've had since I was like actually young, like probably 12 or 13 when I was that young. And I heard that song, I was like, ooh, that'd make a fun music video. And I was like, ooh, maybe I could finally fulfill my dream as a 27-year-old man. And so, I have the means now. There's this cool app called Rough Animator on Android that allows you to make these complex animatics, and you can extend the frames. You can make them as long as you want. And you can't do that with any other app. Like the other one that's available is Flip-A-Clip, and that one is super basic. It doesn't let you like extend your frames to a appropriate length of time that fits with like the sound you're working with. And so, but Rough Animator does. It does cost $8 to own the app, but I think if you're in love with animation and storytelling, then it's definitely something worth investing in, because you are only what you put into it, and if you put a lot into it, you're going to get a lot. And I worked on that little animatic thingy for like 1 hour. I got 6 frames done. I thought, that's interesting, because I did do some storyboarding on physical paper last night, which is what I showed in my previous video. And in that one, I remember 12 frames were done in the span of 1 hour, whereas this one, 6 frames were done in the span of 1 hour. So, and the thing is, I just did consistent nonstop work on it too. So I'm wondering, why did I only get half the work done in the same space of time? Pretty sure has something to do with preoccupying myself with trying to match the frame up with the sound. So now I'm doing double duty. I'm not just drawing the frames, but I'm trying to match the frame, the drawing with the song, so it's satisfying and makes sense. So that's probably what's going on. What I ended up completing was I had 2 frames that I did like a long time ago, like I think 6 months ago probably. of two lumberjacks, like, opening their eyes and like they're getting up from their bed. And then I was like, okay, well, what do I do now? So the first frame I did after a long time, they say goodbye to their wives, they kiss them, they go out the door. Second, and that was the first two frames. Then the next two frames is them driving in their trucks and then stopping by at the exact same location, getting out of their trucks, and then seeing each other and then waving. And that was like the last two other frames. So yeah, all of that took 1 hour, but there was something oddly gratifying and fulfilling about doing that, And the fact that I felt like I was in control. That's a thing that I think AI just takes a lot of from. I mean, when I was introduced to it, I thought, especially with the new image editors like Nano Banana 2 and also, what was the other one? ChatGPT's Image 2, it's kind of crazy how you could just do a basic storyboard drawing, send it, describe exactly what you want to be happening in the shot, and then it generates like what looks to be a finished frame you can use in a video generator, and then you put that in there and describe exactly what you want to happen, and it does it, and you're like, oh my gosh, this is magic. But the magic comes at a cost, and that cost is it doesn't get it right the first time. It takes like 2 to 3 minutes to generate, and then for the frame, and then it takes another 3 to 6 minutes to generate a video, depending on the length, the resolution, and how the complexity of the action. And even though, and then sometimes you're not even guaranteed like you're going to get the shot that you're looking for, and then when you do get it, you just burn through a whole lot of different other shots to get it. And even though there's something kind of fun putting together a story that way, because it's like, oh my gosh, I'm getting what looks to be a finished product in a record set amount of time, I don't feel like it's 100% like fully like, like I'm in control, Like I feel like I have to wrangle this crazy AI that just wants to do what it wants and have say, no, we're not doing it that way, we're doing it this way. And you have to constantly like direct it in that way, and a lot of times it's just saying, no, you got that wrong. The character's not supposed to open the door on that side. They're supposed to open the door on this side. And no, you got that wrong because the character is looking at the wrong side of the window outside of the building and whatnot. So, you have those annoying logical inconsistencies that just take away from the creative spirit and process, because then you gotta stop, you gotta give these basic instructions, and you gotta wait and wait. And as cool as it is when it does work, it more often than not does not work. And when it doesn't work, it's extremely frustrating. And the time you spend waiting for it to get the thing right is time you feel like you could have just spent doing it yourself. And that's what I've ultimately learned. I'm sure, it's gone really good in a short space of time. And as time goes on, it'll only get better and better, I would imagine. But at the end of the day, I mean, if it's doing the work, are you really doing the work? I mean, technically you are dictating to it and telling it exactly what you want, but it's not 100% you, and I think that's definitely something to consider. Like, I mean, you are still telling the story, you are still coming up with the ideas, you are still coming up with how you want the shots to look and what you want the actions to look and feel like, and how you want the scene to play out when it's being generated using a video generator. But so in a way, it's still communicating things, but it's definitely not fully hands-on. Like, there's some layers removed from it in terms of being fully expressive, which I think is an interesting observation. And I have to admit, doing these like storyboards, doing these drawings does give me this more liberating feeling that like makes me feel like I'm fully 100% in the director's chair, which is nice. So yeah, I guess those are my thoughts on the whole AI versus traditional filmmaking thing. I mean, does this mean that we're just gonna fully like abandon like messing with AI for filmmaking projects? Well, maybe for like some joke videos. Like I was working on a video for like a YouTube channel called Simmy and Jimmy, where like it's a Survivor episode where he's pitting himself up against a bunch of YouTube content creators and fictional characters. I stopped working on that a while back because life got in the way, or like I just got swept up in other creative pursuits or whatnot. But in terms of silly, dumb projects like that, if AI can only just replicate what it's already seen, then why not take something where it's literally just taking things that people have already seen and like have fun and jokes with it, but at the same time, just being fully creative and on board is just a better feeling overall. So yeah. Okay, well, I think I've gone on long enough about that. Then I agreed with my sister. I showed her what I worked on. She thought it was pretty cool. And then I said, I'm suddenly in the mood to watch some old Tex Avery cartoons for inspiration. Would you join in? First she was a little like, meh. But then I said, yeah, the shorts are like about like 7-8 minutes long, something like that. It's like, okay, well, that seems short commitment. So we watched 3 shorts. One was Little Red Riding Hood, but then it was retransmogrified in the animated film to Red Hot Riding Hood, and it was basically about a wolf who goes to like a nightclub and watches this lady who is singing like this song, and he's like, oh my gosh, lady, wow, and like he tries to like woo her with like diamonds and stuff, but she's like, no, I'm not interested, get out of my way, I'm leaving. And he's like, no, I'm gonna chase after you. And then like he ends up getting harassed by the old by her grandma instead, and so it's pretty funny. And then after that one, the next one was I forget what it was called, Who Killed Who, I think. And in this one, it's like, it just felt like a collection of gags that were loosely tied together by the theme of, what can we do in a haunted mansion story? So, yeah, I mean, and there was some funny jokes in there, but overall, that one just felt like, what can we have as an excuse to put as many gags in as possible that are loosely connected to the story? And even though there was a lot of funny gags in there that I really enjoyed, it definitely did feel like it was starting to lose steam by the end, for sure. But it was still very creative and funny. Then after that, the last one we watched before we called it a night was it was one about 2 buzzards. Like one of them sounded like Jimmy Durante, and one of them sounded like, "Hey, I'm from, like I'm the newspaper kid from New York," and it's like, "Hey, it's me. I'm Jimmy Durante, the ha-cha-cha-cha-cha," So, they were hungry. They were trying to get a rabbit, but then they were like, "Oh my gosh, that rabbit got away. I'm so hungry. I could eat literally anything." And he sees his buddy, and like the buddy turns into like a roasted bird, and then his buddy sees him, and he turns to a roasted bird, and then they basically go back and forth trying to like eat each other throughout the whole short. And well, that one had some funny gags in it. The idea definitely did wear thin after a while. I mean, there's some funny ideas, but overall, in my opinion, I feel like that one was like okay. Red Hot Riding Hood was definitely the best one we watched tonight. The other 2 were good, but they definitely did feel like they were losing steam as they were playing along, in my opinion. After we were done watching that, and I ate like 2 cookies, by the way, that I made tonight, with a cup of low caffeine coffee. I said goodnight to my sister, took my vitamins, I brushed my teeth while listening to a Preston Dennett video about onboard UFO encounters, and then I went into my room and recorded this video. So that's pretty much the day in a nutshell. This video went on for quite a lot longer than I was expecting it to, but I'm glad I was able to get a lot of things off my chest in this video. I thought it it made for a good documentation of, certain like thoughts I have about like, AI, the entertainment industry, storytelling, clout chasing culture, and how toxic it can be, making better financial planning. So a lot was discussed here. I think was pretty substantial, and I'm really glad that I'll have this to look back on and think, oh, what was I thinking? And around 3:02 on a Thursday morning in May 21st. So yeah. All right, well, that's going to do it for now. Thank you for watching. Really do appreciate it. And I'll see you in the next video. Take care, everybody, and have a good night. Let's try that again. Take care, everybody, and have a good night.